All right, so in our last video, we kind of finished up talking about the middle school and high school proposed solution, and we'll go ahead and jump into the other proposed solutions as well. So the other part at the elementary school, again, this was built in 1999, so we're getting to be 24-ish years old here in this building, but this is by far, in much better shape. It is significantly newer than other buildings. It was designed with a newer, kind of state in mind. So there's not that much work here outside of just some of the general capital maintenance and a couple of things that I'll note here. So one, making this a true secure entrance, which this is the best secure entrance we have in the district. It is not truly secure because it doesn't open up once you're buzzed into the main office. It opens up right to the main floor area. We do have a window here currently, and we could very easily convert that into a door, and then we can have them actually have to walk into the elementary school office, check in visually with our secretary before they're released into the school. So a pretty minor piece there, but one to make that fully secure. Currently, we've added our additional 4K classes. We've gone to everyday 4K into this space, but we would like to move them and have our 4K wing down here. We've had a lot of shifting because of this, and we can accommodate this, have our littlest students closer to the cafeteria, to the gym, to their recess area, and make this space that has its own, plumbing, that we could put a little bathroom in here for our little learners where these do not have that space. We would just end up moving them down here, and that's kind of the big construction-y type of stuff. And the other piece is, at 24 years, we are starting to get to that point in the cycle where we have to look at different roof sections that need to be replaced. And we have a number of HVAC systems that are beginning to fail as, again, they're hitting that 24-year-old period, which most of those systems are like a 15-year lifespan, and we're now at 24 years, and we're starting to have them fail. But it's time to go ahead and fix those. There are two additional questions that we added as well to this survey to get feedback on. One is daycare, which is a really interesting piece. So as we looked at all of these proposals, we were looking at how can we better utilize our spaces. And in all of these, we have redundancy where we have a classroom in the middle school and the high school that serves the same teacher and the same subject. So we have two FCS classrooms, we have two Spanish classrooms, we have two art classrooms, and so on and so on. So how could we better utilize these spaces? And instead of investing, twice as much money to make both rooms, bring them up to the current state, how can we make one room excellent and not have to worry about the other one? So let's put our money into making our FCS classroom in the high school great, and have our kids, travel through a building to this point safely and securely. And if we do all of that, we have some unused space in the back of this middle school if we kind of shift everything around, where we could segregate this off and make this into a community daycare. There'd be some renovations that would have to come in doing that process to make that up to code for a daycare. So that's the question we're kind of asking, and I'll just leave you with a couple of facts as we've dove into this. There's not one licensed daycare within the school district of Rib Lake's boundaries. Taylor County as a whole is like 70th out of 72 counties at providing daycare. I think there's 11 total licensed daycares in the county. 10 of them are in Medford, one is in Gilman, and none are in the school district of Rib Lake. So this is a really unique opportunity that Excel brought to us. Hey, you got this space. What if we did this? And it's interesting. So we want to kind of turn that over to see what community's thoughts on this. Would we want to spend money on this to renovate it and then have an outside company come in and run it and provide that for our community? And then two are facility solutions for our athletic fields. One would be the track, and I know that has been one that has been dire for a while. Our track surface is in not very good shape, to say the least. And looking at replacing that, bringing that up to competition standards across there. Our softball complex, we know, has some drainage issues that we could address. And then our outside basketball and tennis court area also has some safety issues with its current state. So all of that together, what does that ultimately end up costing? And I'll dive into finance in the next video. So if you think through that, the base plan where we do the middle school, high school, and elementary school improvements, that would be a total of $22.7 million. And new construction, that's a little under $10 million. The renovations and the capital maintenance of both renovating some classrooms and just the general capital maintenance with capital maintenance, I think, is a little over $5 million just in itself in that specific instance. adds up to those numbers, and using our old tax numbers. So don't worry about any new assessed numbers. As assessments go up, the tax impact goes down, but I'll leave it there. All of these numbers are based on last year's taxes. The same total dollar amount would be used in the future, no matter where things get assessed. The total is the same. So if assessment goes up, this goes down, the mill rate, or what we're calling tax impact here. So per $100,000 on old, so again 22, 23 values, would be 220 extra dollars in comparison. The daycare piece is 1.2 million in renovations, and these are all estimates again, and that's $22 of tax impact. And then our athletic improvements is 950,000 and roughly $17. And this would be over a 20-year span, debt. So issuing bonds, I'll talk about in a second. Through all that. Now, one thing to kind of note here, and one of the reasons why we went with Findorff in this process, all of this is an estimate at this point, and they're conservative numbers. We would have to put all of this to bid and have to go out and have people say, hey, this is the part of the project that I want to do, and here's our bids for it, and then we would select those bids as they come in. One thing that is really interesting in this is we can design certain parts of our bid to make them accessible to some of our local construction or cabinet factory, whatever it might be. So for instance, if a cabinet factory said, hey, I would be really interested in doing all the cabinets in the family consumer science room or something like that. We say, okay, well, we're going to put that just as one thing that could be bidded on. And then the cabinet factory would have a chance to bid on that specifically, that specific project. And hopefully we would be able to, they're a competitive bid, and that makes most sense for us, staying local. And we're using our money to also benefit our local businesses as well. And I will stop there before we talk about finance.